tonight is the fourth of the Corcoran Design Dialogue series. As I mentioned before, there's a lot of familiar faces here who've been to all four, but it's a new one, so this is great. And tonight we're really very excited to have our special guest, Dimitri Chris, here. And what he's going to be speaking of is maximizing small spaces. So just to share a little bit about Dimitri and his background.
Oh boy.
It's not that long of an intro.
Good.
Okay. So Dimitri has curated spaces that evoke calm and elegance, spaces that allow living and working together in harmony. His aesthetic values flow and functionality, incorporating rich textures and materials. Timeless and authentic, the space you inhabit should enhance your everyday, engage your surroundings, and motivate you to create your best life. Multidisciplinary by nature, Dimitri Chris designs experiential, residential, and corporate spaces that continuously respond to his customers' evolving needs. What you might not know about him, but probably aren't surprised when I share this because he's so dapper tonight, is that he began his artistic career in garment design, creating a stream of successful runway and ready-to-wear collections under the Dimitri Chris brand. Fueled by his passion for people and shaping human experiences, Dimitri's ambitions expanded to include designing spaces, products, and experiences. So welcome, Dimitri. We are very excited to have you here this evening.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's weird to hear all that. It just sounds weird in my head when I hear it out loud.
That's okay.
Yeah.
You should be proud of your accomplishments. So let's start with this question. From what we see, the biggest challenge when people are moving from larger spaces to smaller, and it's not necessarily just moving into, I shouldn't say just diminishes it, but moving, say, into a condominium. It's some people may be moving in, say, from a 4,000 square foot home into an 1,800 square foot townhome. So when moving into a smaller space, there is truly a mental shift. It's not necessarily about the property. So when your clients, specifically Dimitri, go from a large home to a smaller home, whether it's a condo, a penthouse, townhouse, what's the first thing that you try to solve for them in that downsizing move?
The first thing usually is basically what's the floor plan? What's the existing floor plan, and how do we utilize that? How do we maximize it to benefit the lifestyle that they have and that they want to have in that space? So, how do you adjust it? And then what else comes with, the floor plan is the details. Okay, well, is it just the space that's the issue, or then there's other mental shift that needs to happen as well?
So what would you think some of those mental shifts are that the prospect, the buyer, has to go through when downsizing?
Well, first of all, it's the emotional attachment to the space that they were in before. When you live in a place for X amount of years, you develop an attachment, or you develop memories, I should say, memories to the space, to things. And that's usually the hardest thing to let go of. It's not like we're used to having, guests in this space, and now we can't. Well, yes, you can. You just have to, there's a way around it.
So some of the things I've heard from some of the people who work with us here is clients will often ask 3 questions when you're showing them something that they're moving into smaller space, like where would we entertain? And you've just alluded to that in your last comment. Where does everything go? Because most people do accumulate a lot of stuff over the years, and will this feel right over time? So when you hear those questions, how do you respond to the new buyer of the home?
Those questions rarely refer to the actual question that they're saying. Their worry is how is that going to impact their life the way it has been all these years? What other habits are going to be changing? What is the perception like what the people are going to have. Oh, like, well, you know, you're leaving this, you know, $50,000 square feet mansion to a 10,000 condo. What's happening? You know, like, so these, like for a better word, stigma. You know, what, you know, are you gone broke and you can't afford that anymore, kind of thing? But no, it's not a question of wealth. It's a question of priorities, and you know, and you don't need a space. A huge room has a lot of, yes, it's big, but there's also a lot of waste in it. You don't necessarily use it all. And when it's a tighter group, when it's a larger group in a tighter space, it makes it there's a vibe in it. You know, it just feels more homey, more warm, and people tend to enjoy it much more. So that's usually, so the question that they ask usually, sorry, I got a little derailed.
That's okay.
I tend to do that a lot. The question that is never really about the question. There's always something else.
Right.
So you have to poke around to see what is the real issue in here.
So what would you say the biggest issue is? Because when you commented about the perception that maybe their friends or family see what they're moving into a condo, is that one of the bigger ones that you find is an objection?
Yeah. It's how to, like, the change of lifestyle, how is it going to be perceived?
So how do you address that when that comes up in the conversation?
I'm like, well, the size of the space has nothing to do with it. It's how you dress it, and what kind of finishes, what kind of luxury element you put into it. And the term luxury is very used a lot, overused I find. But there's, you know, real luxury element. You know, what are the materials? How are you using them? How are they being showcased? Is the finishing details adequate to the space you're in? Those things, people tend to forget how small the space is afterwards. Once you see those details, you're like, wow, the craftsmanship. You know that, you know, thought was placed into this, and money as well. So erases all the misconceptions.
Good. What I've heard you talk about is a lot of emotion that the people go through and what they confront, and they may specifically talk about heirloom pieces, or there's a scenario I heard recently about an agent who's working with a buyer downsizing, and this person's concern is, where am I going to put my baby grand piano? Or it could be, where would I put my inherited 4-poster bed that my grandmother had and handed down to me? So how do you address those issues? And another thing that may tie into that question is, at what point is the best time for someone like yourself to come into the scenario? Is it during the showing? Is it after a conditional offer goes in, making it conditional on you coming in? When would you, as the expert, think it's the best time for you to go in to deal with those scenarios?
I would say the best time is when the realtor gets the listing, before you even stage it. Bring in a designer, because they will see the space differently than a stager will, and they will help answer a lot of the questions, and then maybe that will change the staging of the space, first and foremost. But I mean, I've gone with clients, have taken me along the ride with them on purchasing homes, and there was homes that I didn't like, they didn't buy them. I'm like, nope.
I'm sure the realtor loves you.
Yeah, the realtor was really not happy because he was expecting an offer, and I pretty much ruined that option. But it turned out that the client...
Don't take Dimitri on your showing.
The clients ended up buying actually something much bigger and more expensive. Okay. So at the end, I think she was happy.
Take Dimitri on the showing.
It's, you know, 50-50 chance. But, you know, for realtors, if they include designers earlier on, then they get a different perspective. They get better tools on how to answer certain questions or concerns that clients may have. And for clients, if you bring in your designer ahead of time, he can help you visualize a space if you're not able to at the moment. He'll tell you, know, hey, you know, this little corner, we can do this here, we can do something else. Like, don't panic on, you know, I don't know, whatever the situation, or where's my chair gonna go? It doesn't matter, there's a little corner here, we can figure out something to, you know, there's always ways around things. I always say, if you really love something, there's always ways to make it work. Go back to your baby grand piano. Oddly enough, I'm literally dealing with a situation very similar. The clients they downsized from a 50,000 square feet house to a 10,000 square foot house, which for them is it's dramatic. It's the end of the world. Oh my God, what are we gonna do? It's like the wife called crying, and I'm like, oh God, I'm gonna now have to pay the role of a therapist also. So they've inherited, it's a family heirloom. We belong to the husband's great grandparents. It's huge painting. I think it's like a 7 by 10 feet. It's massive. The painting is not just that big. The frame is about 6 inches wide all the way around. So it adds to it. The house has maybe 3 walls. And one is by the staircase. So if you hang it there, the railings of both ends blocks it. So I want it on the main floor. I want it on the main floor. I want to see it. I'm like, some things is not, just put them somewhere else. They don't need to be, on display unnecessarily. So we managed to convince him to put it on the landing of the staircase. There's some great double height walls. So I think we have about maybe 20-something feet of height, which is great, very dramatic. There's a window. So I'm creating a little vignette there. The little bench, drapery moment, dramatic. So as you're walking from the foyer into the entertainment space, that's the first thing you'll see is that over there. So I'm like, see? It's not right there in your eye, but it took months of convincing. It took almost 2 months to get him on board. The wife was on board like this. He was like, no, I want it there, prime and center. Like, you open the door and that's the first thing you see. Like, basically, he wanted us to put a wall up just for the painting. But it's great, but,
Yeah. Yeah.
But,
What's that, Donna?
These are real challenges that average people have.
It's true, yeah. Moving from the 30,000 to the 10,000 square foot house, yes.
but also, even when you think about it, like, okay, you see the 10,000 square foot house, it's like, it's quite massive. And I'm like, how were you living before? Like, were you really using all those rooms? Were you using them properly also? Or it's just a question, just square footage. That's what it is. It's weird.
Is it ego?
I think so, somewhere, for sure.
Sure, for sure.
Feelings. All about feelings.
It is, absolutely. So clients often assume that condo living means less freedom, less comfort, and less prestige. Goes into that ego thing. My friends are going to think I've lost my business or whatever because I'm moving from a big house to a condo. We spend a lot of time reframing that. How do you preserve the feeling of luxury when the actual footprint is smaller?
I'm going to, usually, I think what I said earlier, it's, the footprint is irrelevant. It's how you use it. And how clever is your design? How discreet is the storage? Like, do you know that that's a closet behind there, or do you hide the closet in beautiful paneling, behind wallpaper? The finishings, the furnishings, these are all things that distract from the obvious, lack of wasted space. And that's what I call square footage, lack of wasted space.
Lack of wasted space. Yeah, I have a philosophy on that too, and that's we only ever physically occupy one space at a time. So I'm here, you're there, you don't need any more space than where you're currently occupying. But sometimes people do have difficulty.
But you're in a condo, right?
I'm absolutely in a condo.
How great is it?
It's fantastic. I love it.
No headaches. No nothing.
Headaches. I
know.
didn't have to shovel any snow last week.
I know. So we sold our house. My husband and I sold our house, moved into a condo. It's the greatest thing ever. I'm like, why did I want a house to begin with? No yard maintenance, no garbage to take out. None of that bullshit.
Yeah, it's awesome.
It's amazing.
It's awesome.
Turnkey, easy build. I'm like, can you make life any easier?
No, you can't. So one of the things I
That's
often...
luxury.
You know what? That is luxury. It's a peace of mind. One of the things I do often hear from the agents in my office is that the hesitation moment happens when a client says, I don't know if that works. Now, in sales, that could look like something like what we call a stall. It's not really an objection. So if you're out with, let's say you're out with Donna, and she's brought you along on a showing, and the client says, I don't know if this works. Let's break it down. Like, what are they actually saying? So what would you as the designer, expert in small spaces, say to that prospect?
So it would be, okay, well, how are you using the space, first of all? What is your need, first and foremost? What is your need on how will you use the space? What are you bringing in? What is your, what's the fear? Is it that you feel it's too tight and you don't have the same movement freedom that you used to have before? Is it because you think your pieces won't fit inside? Like, what's the real? And then once you know what the real issue is, it's easier to address. So usually if it's furniture, then maybe the furniture is too big, scale it down. I did a project not too long ago where the client had just downsized, and she was adamant about keeping the furniture because she goes, I paid so much money for it, I haven't really used it, which is also often heard. They buy things so expensive. So I'm like, okay, but it's not working. The scale is off. Resize it. So take it to an upholstery guy, cut the sofa in half, resize it, change the silhouette. Then the scale of it makes more sense in the room. The flow is different also.
Was she really that attached to that specific couch that she had
Oh,
to
she was
cut
attached
up?
to a lot of the pieces. A lot of the pieces, yeah, very, yeah.
Oh, gosh. So we touched on this earlier, but as a designer, going in with agents when they're doing showings, would that be considered a light touch consult, and what would that look like, and how do you tie that into working with the people down the road? Like, would you charge for things like that, like to get to some of the brass tacks of what a designer does?
Interesting question. So I don't know, I can't speak for everybody. I
Right.
speak for myself, but usually if I'm going with a client to see the house, it's because I'm already part of the conversation to begin
Right.
with. So either we're working on a project together or we're working on this particular project and we know that we're going to be doing something. So it's I haven't been brought in just as a consult, so it's very hard for me to answer that. But yes, it is possible. You establish, okay, this is a fee, this is how designers work. Oh, it's a light consult. First of all, you don't know if you're going to get the space to begin with. So I'm not going to, there's no point to sit there and
Right.
brainstorm and design the whole layout if you're not sure about the space.
Gotcha.
It's a waste of time for everybody. But yeah, you do, you go in there, it is a consultation, bottom line. And usually there's fees associated, but depends if, like I said, in my case, I've always been part of the project ahead of time. So it's hard to say, but yeah.
Yeah.
I think, yeah.
No,
moved
that
around.
I perfectly understood, because
Yeah.
of the reality is, like, you don't know really what's going to transpire down the road, whether you're going to get hired for the job. So
No.
it's on a one-off basis, correct?
Yeah,
Yeah,
pretty much.
awesome.
But do you see a lot of that happening? Like, do you see realtors bringing in designers or the clients going with the design?
Not often, but there's realtors in the crowd. So has anybody here taken a designer in prior to executing an offer? Colin's nodding yes. Dawn is saying no. Claudine's saying
It's a great idea.
yeah.
If they're gonna be working with a designer anyway,
Right.
to have them, if they've looked at the property already and they really have interest in the property, then to bring you in and have a look at it and say, do you think this will work for our lifestyle and things that we want
Yeah.
to use it for, then it's probably not a bad idea. Yeah.
Most of them bring the designer and a buyer. They-
Afterwards.
Yeah, afterwards.
Interesting.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Huh.
Or if we're narrowing
Say
it down
that's
between a
true,
couple
yeah.
of properties,
Or,
that's,
yeah, or they're.
I brought them in for specific reasons. It was like
Yeah.
one issue that came up again and again, and we were choosing between two properties, so it was really helpful because they made the choice very, very apparent.
Yeah.
So it
We
was,
can
it
work
was
with
very
this
clear.
better than this to fit your.
And I would say it's a great idea, especially when going into a smaller space, because a lot of the times it's in regard to storage solutions. Will my stuff fit in the cupboards or whatever, right? So
Yeah.
I'm not going to buy this condo unless I know that.
Everything can fit inside. Yeah. And storage is it's the most important thing, I would say, because there's ways to make it obvious and there's ways to camouflage it also. In great millwork, in hidden walls, you put up you stretch out the kitchen, and then that part looks like it's part of the kitchen, but it's actually a closet from the other side. Behind a fake wall, divide a room, then something else is. Like options.
To be fair, Pauline owns a downsizing company, so storage is like near and dear to her.
But she's not. But everybody does. That's the first thing you do. Even people with who move into bigger houses, who upsize, I should say, right?
Yep.
It's the right term. They also want storage and stuff and you're like, well, you have all this square footage. Convert a room.